Time for Rich Dicks. We had a couple nominations for Elon Musk, the obvious choice, given his obnoxious attempt to purchase Twitter this week. This is Broken666 tweeted, quote, "It is estimated that ending homelessness in the U.S. would cost $20 billion. With the amount of money Musk spent in this pointless vanity project, which will fail spectacularly, homelessness could have been solved 3 times over, leaving him with 3/4 of his wealth. This must be made illegal." Actually, to quote George W. Bush, it's uniquely American. Look, in my book, Musk is always a rich dick. He's the permanent rich dick. Usually being rich and being a dick aren't at odds with each other. They fuel each other. They have a symbiotic relationship. In Musk's case, however, his obsession with being a dick online will likely lead to a hefty hit in his wealth, regardless of whether the Twitter deal is agreed to in the end or not. Musk has already lost tens of billions of dollars in personal wealth with Tesla's stock collapse since the deal with Twitter was announced. This dipshit is just lighting billions of dollars on fire. He's a rich dick, but not the one we're looking for today. Nope, this week's rich dick is McKinsey executive Bob Sternfels. Look, he works at McKinsey. Enough said. I think we're done here. But I'll continue. Mr. Sternfels somewhat honorably took one for the team and was the guy to testify in front of Congress this week on McKinsey's role in the opioid crisis. But since he didn't perform seppuku in front of lawmakers, and he actually defended the company's actions, well, he gets the dishonors. Now, to set it up, McKinsey did consulting work for Purdue Pharmaceuticals from 2004 to 2019, a time when the drug manufacturer was churning out prescription opioids, fueling an overdose epidemic that's killed more than 500,000 people across the U.S. and counting. Sternfels apologized for that part, but tried to rationalize it by saying the company was just unaware of what was happening.
You know, I think the root of this is while our intent was not to fuel an epidemic in any of our work, I think we failed to recognize the broader context of what was going on in society around us.
Yeah, so that's bullshit. The company was fully aware of the role it played to ensure opioid manufacturers can keep pushing their deadly drugs. Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey also testified at the hearing and went over the findings of her investigation into McKinsey's work with Purdue.
We learned how McKinsey worked directly with Purdue and the Sacklers to turbocharge OxyContin sales, exactly at the time when people in Massachusetts were overdosing and dying. We learned that McKinsey consultants worked directly with the Sackler billionaires who controlled Purdue. We found that McKinsey told the Sacklers to target the most dangerous prescribers who put the patients on opioids at the most highest levels and at the highest doses for the longest periods of time. We found that McKinsey coached Purdue to band together with other opioid companies to defend against strict treatment by the FDA. While this is happening and more focus and attention is being brought to bear, McKinsey is advising Purdue on how to deal with this, and in particular concerns raised by insurance companies. So here's what McKinsey proposes. They actually propose paying a rebate to the insurers for each patient who overdoses. Their analysis showed that paying a rebate could be a, quote, attractive option for Purdue if the payment was in the range of $6,000 to $14,000 for each patient who was harmed. The money wouldn't go to the patient, but it would go to the insurance company to encourage them to keep paying for Purdue's drugs.
Wow. That is some evil shit. Damn. It was also revealed that while McKinsey was doing consulting work for Purdue, it was also receiving over $100 million in contracts for work with the FDA, the agency that would regulate companies like Purdue.
We found that at the same time that McKinsey was working for Purdue, the same McKinsey consultants were in fact also working for the FDA. McKinsey went so far as to brag about this. They wrote to Purdue's CEO that Purdue should hire McKinsey because of, quote, who we know, close quote, including specifically because McKinsey worked for the FDA.
Later in the hearing, under questioning from Representative Katie Porter, Sternfels actually tried to defend McKinsey's double dealing.
Mr. Sternfels, to be clear, is your position that McKinsey, is your position that McKinsey working for both the FDA and opioid manufacturers at the same time did not create a conflict of interest? Is that your position?
That is my position, to be clear.
Okay, I appreciate your clarity. Let's look at what McKinsey employees told pharmaceutical companies. McKinsey consultants bragged to opioid maker Purdue Pharma that their FDA work, quote, improved Purdue's ability to influence the regulatory environment. That's a McKinsey statement. Quote, McKinsey's FDA work will improve Purdue's ability to influence the regulatory environment. McKinsey worked for Purdue at the same time it was working for the FDA. Mr. Sternfels, should McKinsey have disclosed to the FDA that it was helping opioid manufacturers influence drug safety regulations?
I'll start with your direct question, which is we don't view our work at the FDA at the same time working with pharmaceutical companies, including opioids, as a conflict because the topics were different.
Well, that's not what your own consultants were telling drug companies, dipshit. You know what? I've had enough of this guy. McKinsey profited off mass death in this country, and its executives deserve a lot worse than some tongue lashings in Congress. Our legal team won't let me say what that is. But for now, this will do. Bob Sternfels, this week's Rich Dick. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our new videos. Also, if you want to see Means Morning News in its complete form, not just the clips we post here, head on over to Means TV and get access to all our new episodes and our entire backlog, plus tons of other great movies and original TV shows.